Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing, and it is day 4, number 107.
107.
I can't believe it's been 7 episodes since the 100th show already, Frank.
I know, time flies when you're having fun, man.
We are back and we are live, Frank, in Ohio. I am in the studio in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and it is a pre-Bassmaster Classic edition of day 4. Frank, we had a recorded show last week. You were on the way to take the vessel, actually what propels the vessel, to Kentucky Lake there. Let's get our weekly update.
Yes.
As to what's going on with Frank's boat and motor.
Okay, this is turning into like a soap opera here. I don't know. I reached out to Tim yesterday, and he was kind of busy. He said he'd give me a holler later. I didn't get that later phone call. He'll call me today though. I think they're getting it narrowed down. You know, I'm at the point now where I'm really insanely frustrated.
At some point, you just have to reach a level of indifference, don't you? Where you're just accept it.
Well, yeah,
like, I mean, whatever.
That's kind of where I'm at right now. So it's very frustrating to me because I've been catching fish all winter long, and I've been catching a lot of them, and not to be able to get out there has been driving me crazy. I mean, where I live, we got like 4 inches of snow the other day, but it was beautiful out. There was not a breeze. It was still slick flat. It would have been, I was jonesing to get out. And, you know, I had taken all my tackle out of the bass boat because I don't leave, whenever I bring my boat somewhere and drop it off, I leave nothing in it.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't want to monkeying around with Uncle Frank's goods.
Kind of, sort of, maybe. So I take everything out. So what I did was, because I was in a hurry, I drove back from Lake Norman, literally the next day, unloaded the boat, and the next day left for Kentucky. And so what I wound up doing was I threw all of my tackle on top of my aluminum. And I mean, I took everything out of that boat, and it's piled sky high. My aluminum boat looks like, you know, something out of Sanford and Son. And it's piled up. And I got kind of lazy because I only had a few hours, and I'm like, dang it, it's going to take me 35 minutes to clear all this stuff out. So I just didn't go yesterday, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't go.
Someplace you are going is the Bassmaster Classic that is taking place in Knoxville, Tennessee, March 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th is when I will be there. However, Saturday the 25th is Frank SCALISH Day at the Bassmaster Classic Expo.
I don't know if they're going to announce it like that.
Oh, is that not an official thing?
But I will be there.
All right,
I assure
Frank,
you.
You're going to be perusing the expo. So if you're at the Bassmaster Classic and you want to meet Frank, the meet and greets, there's going to be 2 of them. We're going to do Saturday at noon, and I've kind of cleared these, so the times may change if they're like, hey, we got some, but I've kind of cleared these. So the first one's going to be at the Bass Tank booth Saturday at 12. I think the Bass Tank booth is in that main building. You can follow Uncle Frank's social media, my social media, and I'll have a little picture deal that I can put up there that'll say what exact booth and what time, but from like 12 to 1 at the Bass Tank booth, and then 3 p.m. at the Sunline booth. Now, Sunline is in a giant conglomeration with AFCO and I think Spro, Denali, all sorts of it, but Sunline's in there on that in the main hall there. So 3 o'clock.
Perfect.
You could be there. You're not going to be there on Friday?
No, I'm actually going to get in later Friday evening.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm cooking down with Frankie, and I think he's got to work part of the day Friday.
And then you guys are getting in the truck and heading there.
Yeah, we're gonna bolt as soon as he gives me the thumbs up. We're on the road. We'll get there Friday night. Saturday we'll be bopping around at the show all day, and then Sunday I'll be headed back home.
You know what I'm excited to see at the show is the new power pole trolling motor.
Yeah, interesting, isn't that?
It's got a reverse on it. There's like no giant head. It's just it's supposedly, I think it's brushless.
Yeah, it's brushless. What's the weight on that? Because I'm more interested in the weight factor. I'll tell you guys why.
I don't know. Well, you explain it. I'll try to
Okay,
figure out how much.
so here we do some performance shows on BTL from time to time, and I got Todd, my prop guy, and we do all that. The interesting thing is when guys are putting 3 locators on the front of their boat, plus the trolling motors are heavier than normal. You're adding tons and tons of weight at the very nose of your boat. And so this affects performance. So if you, let me see, do I have a piece of paper here? Of course I do. I always have paper.
So far, they said it was, quote, ultra lightweight, whatever that means.
Okay, ultra lightweight. That's great. Okay, so if this is your boat plane, your bottom of your boat, right? So this is what you're asking. Consider it like a teeter-totter, okay? So in a normal teeter-totter, your fulcrum is right in the middle. And it's real easy to take somebody who is twice your weight and push down on this side, and you can push them up real easily. But with your bass boat, the fulcrum is right there. So you're asking your motor to lift all of that up. Okay, that's really what you're doing. So if you think about that, that is so hard. If it was a teeter-totter and you had this much space to lift a guy my size up, you wouldn't be able to budge me. But that's what you're asking your boat to do, your motor to do. So when you add all this weight right up on the nose of your boat, that's like adding double the weight. I forget what the formula is, but it translates to 20 pounds in front of your steering wheel.
I remember him said that.
Right, as you go towards the nose of the boat, that 20 pounds becomes 40, becomes 60, becomes 80, becomes 120. And so when you add an extra 30 pounds to the nose of your boat, all right, to the nose of your boat,
it's like adding hundreds
or 4 times the weight.
It says that it's ultra lightweight. This is all it says. I couldn't find it. It says, with our ultra lightweight design, Move gives boat bows a brake with up to 35% less weight, letting them keep top end speed and protect fuel economy. Now, 35% less weight than what? An elephant? Who knows?
Well, they probably weighed the heaviest trolling motor.
Yeah.
And then went against the heaviest trolling motor to get 35%. They should just tell you what the dang thing
I'm
weighs.
sure it does. I'm sure it's somewhere in the specs. But I'll be very interested to take my eyes on that, because I mean, let's be honest. If there's one thing that Power Pole has been known for, it's they don't come out with anything until it's ready. I mean, they did like a soft release of the charge, Power Pole charge,
right,
and then when it wasn't ready, boom, they yanked it off again, redid it. Now it's seemingly bulletproof. Same thing with the Power Poles. So,
right. I like I said, you know what? It's a $4,000 unit, man.
I think it's like $5,000 by the time you got everything all done.
Yeah.
Almost $5,000.
Yeah, that's when you compile that with about $15,000 worth of locators.
Oh, I thought you were going to say $15,000 worth of motor repairs.
When you compile that with $15,000 of motor repairs, no, when you think about it, I mean, holy smokes. I mean, bass boats aren't going price wise in the right direction, in my opinion. We're not trimming the fat. We're adding the fat. Now I get it. Everybody's entitled to, it's marketing and it's a business. You got to make money or it's not worth doing it. I get all that, but when you're talking about a brand new bass boat for $100 and some $1,000 fully rigged, an extra $4,000 seems like a drop in the bucket. But is it really a drop in the bucket?
It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
It is. It's a lot of money.
Speaking of marketing, we were working on what we were doing with the show today. So I go on LureNet this morning and I see the Arsonist series, which is all red stuff.
Yeah.
And I called you and I said, Frank, I don't care what you have planned today. You're scrapping it. We're holding it to
no.
108, 109, or 1010, and we're going a deep dive on red because 50% of the time I think it's a marketing ploy, and 50% of the time I don't think I'm going to catch a bass if I don't have red on early in the spring, specifically in Oklahoma. So I know that you haven't had days to prepare for this. Like sometimes you spend a lot of time in preparation of shows, but this is something that I think you can speak fairly authoritatively on is red lures in the spring. We've all talked about it. We've all seen it. We've talked a little bit about it on the show, but selfishly, that's what I want you to dive into today.
Yeah, and you sprung it on me with minutes to go before we went live. So
was that wrong?
No, it wasn't wrong. It's just what it is. So
it did. I was like, oh, I didn't know this was coming. They roll out the huge arsonist marketing. I mean, look at this. Here, 1 second. Let me pull it up.
Pop that thing up because it's pretty sweet, dude. It's pretty sweet. So it's basically it's a whole system. The Arsonist series is a system.
Look at that.
Yeah, because you have the Mobster swim jig, you have the covert spinnerbait, plus you have the trailers that you can use. So it's really like it's a whole system. And as everybody knows, I mean, I guess we'll just go with it. I mean, let's just run with it. As everybody knows, in the early spring, when the water temperatures are cold, for whatever the reasons, the bass start to key in on red. Now
what are those reasons?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. To be honest with you, I'm not sure of the biological reasons, although I know in some regions of the country, the crayfish are, we say red, but they're really burnt oranges, reddish browns, you know, they're tones of, let's say, red to orange is what they are. And so I know in some regions they actually are that color. Where I live, they're not that color, but red freaking smokes them here in the spring. Red in the cold, wet water has always done good. So that's where everybody transitions to. But what I have found in my experience with reds, okay, they'll show a preference between having a hot red or a hot red orange mix or a red and black, based on what the fish's mood is or the watercolor. Like
That's
one of
key.
my favorite baits was Norman fried green tomatoes. It's got an olive back, it's got red side and an orange belly on it. This is one of my all-time favorite crankbaits. I've won a lot of spring tournaments on that color. And I've thrown it against Chili Bowl, and I've had days where Chili Bowl would outperform fried green tomatoes, and I've had days just the opposite. So I have to have both of them, and that's what happens with when you get into these reds and browns, you know, reddish browns, reds and oranges. So here's what I learned over my experience. Water temperature is everything with red. It's everything. So you start out throwing the reds, and everybody knows it. You know, you throw the red deep little end, you throw the red wart or the red rock crawler, 45-degree rocky banks or rocky flats. Early in the spring, water temperatures 42, 45 degrees, and you're catching fish on them. It's just the way it goes. Red rattle baits, Gunnersville. Gunnersville was really the first time that I got a lesson on red. I was there in February, and I didn't have any red rattle baits with me. So I got blade dye, red blade dye, and I was dipping my gold.
You got what?
Red blade dye.
Well, I've never heard of that.
It dyes silver blades or gold blades a color. It's for metal. It's not for soft plastics. It's for metal. And it how I don't know how it adheres, but it adheres to the metal. So anyway, so I got black and chrome, black and gold rattle baits, and I started dipping them in red dye. So my red actually had a little flash behind it. It was like candy apple. and they would knock the guides off of your rod hitting it. So that was where I really got introduced to this, and this is decades ago. That's where I got introduced to this red thing. So I started really paying attention to it because I know when I get below the Mason-Dixon line, it's a thing. Like it's a real thing, okay? Wasn't sure how it translated up north because most of our crayfish up here are brown, bone, olive green, semi-transparent. We don't have that red here. But lo and behold, my red crankbaits up here in the spring, gold, absolute gold. So I realized that red color translates all across the United States during the cold spring. Okay. Another thing I found out, which I'll get to later, and just remind me, Matt, I got to talk about late season also. So here's what I found out, because I was a crawdad crankbait guy, especially on rocky lakes with little vegetation, river impoundments, and rivers themselves. I always have my crawfish baits, and basically what I threw was, back in the day, I threw the Rebel Craw, and then I threw the Rebel Deep We Are in bone brown and orange. Okay. As the other crankbait lines like Norman and stuff came out with their crawdad patterns, I started gravitating towards those baits. So here's the most important thing that you guys got to remember. Okay. I say 42 degrees, but I've caught them in 39 degrees. But we'll say 42 because most of the lakes down south don't get to the 30s. So 42 degrees to about 49 degrees, 50 degrees, red is everything. It's everything, okay, in the spring. As the water temperature starts to get above that 50-degree line, I start to gravitate from reds to more natural craw patterns. As the water temperature gets above that mid-50 mark, I'm translating into shad patterns, because now the bass are starting to predicate mostly on bait fish. So you have to realize this, okay? There's a time when the red will wane. That's not saying that the red won't catch them in warm water, because it will, because it's more of a reactionary strike at that point. But you're going to be better off as the water warms to gravitate to bait fish patterns. Water's cold, stay with the reds. As the water starts to warm, get a little more natural, and then gravitate into your bait fish patterns. That's how I play the red game, because you could literally waste a lot of time throwing red when it's too warm, because the bass are just on bait fish at that point in time. So it's very important to remember that.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now here's another thing, okay? With the Mobster swim jig in red is fantastic, because it gives you the ability to fish that bait in heavier grass, shallower, okay? Shallower than you could, let's say, a crankbait or a rattle bait, even a spinner bait. Sometimes if the grass is too thick, the spinner bait's going to give you some issues. So that gives you that ability to throw this bait where you can't throw the other baits. But the cool thing about the swim jig is, because they give you the option of a spine craw trailer or the craw chunk trailer. Now you have to remember there's two different actions, very distinctly different. The spine craw's fast and tight, and the craw chunk is wild and flappy. So if you're doing the shake with it, the craw chunk is going to be a better option for you, because it's going to, every time you shake the rod, it's going to go, yay, come and get me, come and get me. With the spine craw, it's fast and tight. So if you're casting it out and you're slow rolling it, the legs are doing what they got to do, and you're just slow rolling it with a steady pace, which is how I fish the swim jig mostly. I do both, but mostly I like to vary my retrieve speed on it. And so very effective. Now, the cool thing is the spine craw works as a spinnerbait trailer too. And you can rig it flat so the claws are flat like this, or you could turn it sideways so the claws do this on the spinnerbait, this way or this way. Now, the nice thing about it is you can control the speed, how fast your spinnerbait's going to sink. If the fish want it nice and super slow, and you could slow roll it, you could put that on a lighter spinnerbait, slow it way down, or you can put that on a heavier spinnerbait and speed it up, depending on how the bass want it. So it's very effective. This is a very effective system, and it gives you other options other than crankbait options, which is fabulous because you need those other options. You could go back to one of the Gunnersville tournaments within the last 3 years, and you could see guys were throwing bladed jigs in red. Some guys were throwing red swim baits. I mean, you could.
Do you think they get conditioned
to red?
Yeah.
No. They're coming off of their winter time. Their habits and behaviors are different in the wintertime. They're not seeing a lot of that. As they come in the cold spring and they go to the banks or go, let's say, reachable areas with those baits, that's the first time in several months they're even looking at that color. Okay. So I don't think it's conditional. Like I said, this is a great system because now you can literally go out and play the red game, and you can have your cranks, your rattle baits, your covert spinner baits, this mobster swim jig, and you can cover that whole spectrum of the water column now. So it's a pretty sweet deal, actually.
Well, have you gone into water clarity? What if you're at a place like Table Rock versus a place like the Arkansas River? If you got like a glowing fireball down there and 10 foot of visibility versus red in muddy water, like I've always kind of struggled with the super clear water red stuff.
Don't let it fool you. I was on Norman 3 or 4 years ago, and the lake was gin clear. And I was catching them all on red. And I said the same thing. I could see this bait 6 feet deep.
It's like a fireball.
Oh yeah, dude, it's like a glow bomb. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I was throwing chili bowl in a deep little, not a deep little end, a middle end, fishing humps and bars leading into spawning areas, and waylaid them, and the water was clean. And here, look, red works on Table Rock, and Table Rock's cleaner than Norman.
There's the chili bowl color.
Yeah, that's the chili bowl color. Now, the cool thing is it's got red flake in it too, that you probably can't see in that picture. It's got some red flake in it. It's just like I said, I don't understand the red, but I'm telling you it works. And if you're not playing the red game in the cold water temperatures, you're missing out on a lot.
And then you're starting to transition out of the red as it jumps up into the mid 50s.
Yeah, by the time it's 55-degree water temperature, I'm for the most part on shad colored baits.
Okay. A couple of questions there. Like Doug was like, "Did you say throw red on a Alabama rig?" I've never seen that. Have you?
No, I've never seen the red on the A rig. I wouldn't necessarily.
Might work. Who knows?
It might work, but when I said they were throwing them on swim baits.
Okay.
Not
like single swim baits down on the bottom.
Right. Dragging them through the shallower grass on Gunnersville.
Okay. During this time period when red is the king, when are you not using it? Is there ever a time where it should be prime time, chili bowl, red, orange, fire season, and you're going supernatural? Yeah,
when I'm fishing a jerk bait, because jerk baits, they're on shad. They're looking at shad. So with when the water temperature's cold and I'm throwing jerk baits, which is almost all the time, it's always natural patterns. I don't have a red jerk bait. Now I know guys that do well on them. I don't throw them. Those fish to me are keying on shad. They're looking up. They're keying on shad.
I think I have
So
a red. I think
you have
I was
you
showing
have
you my
two of
jerk
them.
baits here.
Yeah, you have two of them. They're orange and
Oh,
they're more orangey.
you know what? I don't have the red one in my rogue box because I don't throw it. It's red with black. It's like translucent red, kind of with black down the side.
Right,
It's like
exactly.
and
I know
I
exactly the
never,
one.
I never threw it, so I didn't even have it in the box.
Yeah, and so when I'm throwing the jerk bait, I'm laying off the red,
Okay.
even if it's prime time for red, I'm laying off the red. So now I could have a mix. I got a natural and red, and that's kind of how you got to play it, because there are times when you can go through an area like here. When I structure fish, for example, if I'm catching them on a Carolina rig really good, and then I stop catching them and I know there's fish down there, I'll jump to the crank, or vice versa. If I'm cranking and I'm catching them cranking and then I wear them out on the crankbait, I'll go to the rig. But then, okay, there's other things you can fish offshore as a backup to the backup to get a residual bite. So in the springtime, when I'm throwing my reds, I still have my normal stuff on too, because I can get a residual bite for one that may not be keying on the red. I can get that residual bite. It's more of the cast for cash game that I'll play the residual bites. If I'm out fun fishing and I'm catching them, if I've got 20 or 30 bass in the boat, I don't care if I catch two more. You know what I mean? But if I'm in a tournament, I want to catch every single possible fish I can catch. So that's when I play the backup game. And you have to, because when you're competing, that backup game might give you the bigger bite. And so you have to pay attention to that. So
the other thing I've noticed, it seems like the red baits, and is it just because of the time of the year with the pre-spawn and then moving up or transitioning, is you don't really see many red baits play deep.
no, because after 10 feet, most reds turn black.
There you go.
With the way the light penetration is in the water, red becomes black. Now, if the water's crystal clear, like Winnipesaukee, it might take 15 feet for that red to turn black. But in most of our water conditions here, you could guess around 10 feet it's black, just because of the light penetration.
I will. I'll give you $5 at the Classic if you can spell Winnipesaukee for me right now. I'm serious. I got it pulled up right now.
All right, WINNIPA SAKI. Not even close.
You got the first three left. WINNIPESAUKEE.
Damn, I lost the bet.
What made you pull that lake out of thin air?
Because I fished it and I was sight fishing 22 feet deep.
Oh, okay.
Well, 20-ish feet deep. I can't say exactly 22. I mean, some of it was 22, but most of it was.
Are there like insane houses on that lake?
Oh yeah.
Look at this thing. This is Lake Winnipesaukee.
Yeah. It's a playground for the rich and famous.
Dude. Look at that thing.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's cool till you got to run to the grocery store if you run out of beer.
Well, I'm pretty sure if you have that, you have someone who does that for you.
Exactly.
Lakewood.
Travis is going to have a Uber Eats on Winnipesaukee to go with the rest of his guide program.
On Winnipesaukee. So what the hell do they think it is when you're throwing a spinnerbait? They're still thinking, because you're slow and low, they're still thinking crawfish going.
I think they're just still thinking red. And it is slow and low. Now I'll take my spinner baits at times. like the Covert series spinnerbaits money, and they teamed it up with the gold blades, which I like a lot. But sometimes I'll take the back blade
Oh,
off.
you're gonna say it? You're actually gonna
Yeah,
say it?
yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a little cheater tip here.
You're gonna get in trouble.
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Okay, have at it. It's your show, your call.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it because it's important. Sometimes I'll take the back blade off and I'll put copper. And I look at the copper blades because all copper is not created equal. I'll go with the darkest reddish copper blades I can find, and put it on the back. That played out good for me one time on the Ohio River, and it just, for whatever the reason, and usually if the water's really nasty, I'll do that. I just think it gives it a little different. It gives it a different look in the water.
So just from my experience with the red stuff that I've got a handful of baits that I have real good confidence in. I've had them for a number of years. I'm typically throwing them shallow, so I'm not losing a lot of them. And then they kind of go into a box marked pre-spawn,
Right.
and I use them the next year. So I mean, you don't have to completely buy an entire arsenal of everything. You can spend a couple $100 and be good for that month.
Right, but let me point something out about the arsonist. Go back to that spinnerbait. Go back to the Covert. So here's the deal with this. Look at that color. Look at the colors in that skirt. Okay.
Right here, a little
Yeah.
bit of orange. Red.
That's got some orange. It's got that burnt umber color, which is almost like a brownish red.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. That's a fabulous color. And they match the head. They match the head to the skirt material pretty damn good, actually.
Hey, I had a question about that. I was looking at a Covert the other day, and I noticed one side of the head was different than the other side.
Yeah, it helps prevent rolling.
Okay.
So you're not always having to tune the spinnerbait. I mean, these things are made with, like, it's called 17 by 7 wire. I don't know what it is, but me tinkering with these baits all the time, it behaves a lot like titanium. And so it's it snaps back, so to speak. And so this keeps that thing running true and tracking true.
Jason would like to know what kind of trailer when you're throwing that.
I would put the spine craw on that spinnerbait in a
horizontally.
Heartbeat. I do them both ways.
Okay. Because you're not burning it this time of year, so you want something that you can actually get down and then keep
right
with
nice.
the bulk of the. If you watch how Jason throws, how the guys throw them around grain, it's a big meaty trailer on that spinnerbait the majority of the time to kind of give it some bulk, be able to slow it down, and give it some
slow it down is the key. Slow it way down. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I mean, I think it's a cool system because now you can accent your crankbait game with those. And that gives you a little bit more versatility because, if any of you guys, throw hard knockers, one knockers, and rattle traps, et cetera, when you get into a certain grassy areas, you're not getting the bait through it. You're just not getting it through it. This gives you that advantage.
That's the one you'd put on.
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat, dude. That spine craw. I don't want to digress, but I'm gonna. That's such a versatile bait for me because I Carolina rig them, I flip and pitch them, I punch with them, I use them as jig trailers. That's a versatile bait right there.
So what, like just 3-4 packs, couple different colors, just keep them in your boat at all times.
3 or 4 packs. I got a whole 3,700 full of them.
There you go.
Because if I'm on a good rig bite, I'm going through them. If I'm on a punch bite, you're going through them. It's so effective, and God, it's just such a great bait. I mean, it's such a great bait.
You already dealt with this a little bit, but he said red is the first color to be absorbed in the water. You talked about that has to do with water clarity, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. That's why it turns black at a certain depth. It becomes black.
They wants to know, will the arsonist play at the Classic? I would imagine, yes, red will be very prevalent at this year's Classic.
Yeah, I mean,
most likely probably custom painted balsa baits, but
probably judging by the
spinner baits, bladed jigs too.
Area, you know, they had 22 degrees yesterday down there. So, or the
cold.
day before yesterday. So it's flipping cold down there.
Okay, 5477 Nathan says, does red work well on tidal water? Isn't red a year-round staple on tidal waters? Isn't there like Delta Craw, Delta Red, like stuff where they throw red year-round?
There's the Louisiana swamp craw is a red crayfish. It's red year-round. It's red, brown, and black. And it works year-round over there because they have them. I know on the Potomac, way back in the day, I was fishing green pumpkin blue with reddish orange pinchers on it. And I was actually throwing put them on a chatterbait and slow rolling them.
Delta Craw is red. I mean, Delta Craw is a red color that they.
Yeah, they're red. They're red.
Louisiana, California, all the deltas red plays, because I think you're also dealing with crabs and this pinkish red with shrimp and all sorts of different stuff depending on where you are. There's just a lot more things that are reddish, so to speak, Uncle Frank.
Right, 100%. I mean, it just depends your location. You know, like I said, we don't have up here. We don't have red crayfish. The closest we got is a rusty craw, and it really isn't red. It's got like a rusty brown spot on the side of it.
Oh, that's my nickname in high school.
Old Rusty
craw. Okay. One of the things that I did notice on the LureNet site was they have cute little mini spinner baits now.
Are you talking about the Covert Finesse series?
I am talking about the Covert Finesse.
Okay,
series,
so
right?
let me just wipe this notion right now out of your mind. It's not mini cute little mini spinner baits. They are the same. They're 3/8, half ounce, and they're in a very compact profile, which I've been fishing the compact spinner baits most of my life. I like a spinner bait in a really compact profile. It looks more edible to me. It's just what I've always fished with my whole life. I actually used to make my own because nobody made them compacted enough. And so these guys came out with this, and they're dynamite, dude. They're dynamite. And they're right now they're on LureNet. They just put them on, I think, a few days ago, if I'm not mistaken. It's a scaled down version, and just like
that's filthy right there.
It's nasty, dude. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to be in the process of I'm going to be in the process of spending a lot of money.
That's filthy right there.
Right, because there's a time and a place for the larger profiled spinnerbait, and there's a time and a place for the compacted spinnerbait. Okay. I like the compacted ones for slow rolling. I like them during cold front conditions. I like them in high pressured situations when areas are getting fished a lot. Now, the good thing is that I think a lot of people gravitated away from spinner baits with the advent of the chatterbait. And so the spinner bait's like a brand new lure now. I've had insane amounts of success on them recently, which is an indication to me that the places I'm fishing, they're not seeing a lot of spinner baits anymore. And the compacted spinner bait is by far one of my favorite profiled spinner baits.
Richard, before we completely move on from the red, he said, do you remember the Norman Apocalypse color?
Yes. Yeah, it was very similar to that color. Um, but it's really not that color. But it's very similar. Uh, I know exactly what you're saying. But the apocalypse reflected water differently, color in the water different than that. If you look at it in the water, it doesn't look like it does out of the water. That bait has a completely different look in the water. I was very surprised the first time I got them, because I was like, "Whoa, that surprised me." It just didn't look like it does in the package.
What's the difference between the Booyah Covert Finesse and that Get a Limit with the turtle blade that's the 5/16 in the War Eagle? Are they about the same size profile wise? This
I
just
think
has the
I
covert
the wires.
components.
I think the wires are a little shorter from head to R-bend and R-bend to blade on the Covert series, and the Covert series has the lead transfer a little bit down the shank of the
Okay.
hook.
And it's got the Hildebrandt blades and
Hildebrandt blades, yeah,
that weird wire that's
yeah, the
titanium-ish.
17-7 wire, which is sweet because it really vibrates well, really well.
Ooh, I'm gonna actually remember it this time. BTL 100 for 15% off of regularly priced items on lurenet.com
Till the end of June.
till the end of June. So if you want to get some of this stuff, capital BTL 100 at checkout in the code.
Yeah, not only that, guys, there's 20% off bulk bundles still going in. And the 4-inch dinger now is out in all the new custom.
Show them. You've got them. You were showing them to me before.
Yeah,
I know you
so
wanna,
I
know
only
you want to show everyone the dinger.
I only have 2 colors here because I bought like 20 bags of each. I have Northern Lights, which is like a muddy green pumpkin back. It's got like lavender flake in it and an off pearl white belly. It's not pearl white, which is what I like. It's off. It's like a off white pearl. Very good color. And then my favorite color, GB Haze, which is like a semi-translucent green pumpkin with a purpley blue metal flake in it. This is one of my favorite colors, by the way.
Oh, we got a Snagless Sally reference in the.
Dude, we're going old school.
He said the Snagless Sally is a great option on a lot of river systems. If you ever slung a try saying that. You ever slung a Snagless Sally in the derb?
Slung a Snagless Sally in the slough?
In the slop?
In the slop? No, I have not.
Have you ever thrown one?
No, I have not. I have to. I'm just being honest. No. Pull one up. Let's dissect said bait.
Okay, 1 second here. Let me pull
That's
it up.
hilarious. While Matt's looking at that, don't forget, guys, at the Classic, I'll have pictures signed pictures from day 4 to be handing out too.
Oh yeah, you will. Randomly. Fuck up it if Frank gets a good vibe from you.
You get a picture, you get a picture, you don't get a picture. No, that's pretty much not how it's going to go. But I have to save some for you know, the Sunline Hotline booth. I can't give them all away at noon.
Here. Oops, that's wrong.
Yeah, that's it. All right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
I mean, why it would? Of course, it's going to work. It's an inline spinner that you can toss around where the fish live.
Right. I would definitely be putting my own skirt material on that one, and probably swapping out the hook for a better hook. But
it's almost similar. I can't remember the name of this, but one of the listeners sent me that, which is like the Snagless Sally Buzzbait edition.
Oh yeah, heck yeah! Except, is that synthetic material or fur?
It's fur.
Bucktail. That's
It's bucktail.
bucktail. Yeah. Yeah. I remember those bad boys. The pike, fishing for pike. That's sweet. Yeah, the snagless Sally has some merit. I would obviously modify it.
Yeah. As far as where we'll be at the Classic, Saturday, 12 o'clock, the Bass Tank booth, and 3 o'clock, the Sunline booth. And then Frank will also be milling about. Like Frank, if you want to be like, hey, I'll be lurking around the pillar in section J, feel free, more than welcome to do that as well. I'll be at the beer gardens from 10 a.m. to 11.
I'll be at the tap from 3 to close.
It will. So
that's hilarious.
So that's it. So Saturday, the 25th. All right, we got.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
You may have gotten in trouble with the, hey, I like a different blade.
Well, I said there
I'll
are times when I'll modify it.
I'll save you because there's other stuff going on LureNet that I'll let you bring up because we got to get to that before the end of the show. The Norman Fat Boy in rock bass.
Yeah, dude, I did that color a long time ago. I'm surprised. I'm happy it came out now. So the Fat Boy
video,
and you guys know that Fat Boy is a money bait. That's a money square bill right there.
I love their little videos on it.
Yeah. It's God, that Fat Boy is one of my favorite square bills. Oh my gosh.
Would you say one of the biggest underrated baits out there?
1,000%. 1,000%. I get that thing through grass, wood, rock, everything. It's very bulbous, so it moves tons of water. I don't hesitate to throw that in chocolate milk as I do super clean water. I don't hesitate. I have some videos out on lurenet.com that with that Fat Boy, and it's something else, man. I was catching them on Bama Shad in the one video, Bama Shad and Harvest Moon. Same lake, same day, both baits. They were going back and forth on them. So I kind of just kept alternating. The other thing too I wanted to say was that I have get a video that just broke this morning on LureNet. It's getting maximum performance out of your crankbaits.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it's getting rave reviews.
Yeah, it's getting rave reviews from legendary anglers across the country.
Let me tell you what, folks, this is a cinematic masterpiece.
It's
if you don't watch that and think that I'm an all-star, then you need to just never get on YouTube again.
Oh, for crying out loud. No, it's getting maximum performance out of your crankbaits. It's a great video. It'll tell you exactly how to make these baits perform for you totally efficiently.
Up on LureNet, it's a top 10 reasons why I'm a better fisherman than you'll ever be.
I am not an animal.
All right. It's a 72-hour sale. Listen, I'm saving you on this stuff. It's a 72-hour sale. We're cramming all of the LureNet sales down everyone's throat at the end of the show.
Well, yeah, I know. But the hard part is I can't keep up with all of it.
I know.
Because it's March Madness. So there's doing different things every week. And if you don't go on, you're going to miss out on some really good deals.
I know.
And I don't know all of what they are.
So I went on and got all of them. This is the last one, I promise. It's the lucky 3-day sale. Starts today, the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th.
St. Patrick's Day.
It's all the green baits, so a lot of green pumpkin stuff.
Oh,
One knocker and ghost cream, head and soda.
Yeah, that head.
Have you ever thrown a fluorescent green crawdad spook? Be honest.
I have never done that. No.
That'd be an interesting move. All sorts of green stuff, regardless of what you're what you like. Fire Tiger, the Rebel Buzzin' Frog and Green Bullfrog, steep discount.
There you go.
Dingers, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah, that's cool, man.
are you excited to go to the Bassmaster Classic, Frank
Yeah,
Scalish?
I am. I'm really fired up about it. I have the first classic I ever worked was a bazillion years ago. Before I started fishing Bassmasters, I was actually sponsored by Terminator spinnerbaits way back in the day. And I was on the fence of trying to qualify for the top 100s or top 150s, whatever the hell they were called back then. And I was on the fence, and there was my advertising agency was in a warehouse downtown, and I shared the warehouse with a couple of friends of mine that were furniture sales reps. Great bunch of guys. We actually we had a lot of fun working in the same building together. And I kept waffling back and forth. Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? Holy crap, I got all these kids. I got a family. I got a wife. I got a house. Oh my gosh, big sacrifice. And there, one of them said, if you don't do it, you're going to regret it the rest of your life. So I said, well, I don't know. So Terminator said, this was the Chicago Classic when Woo Daves won it. They said, you got to come and work Chicago at Classic. I said, okay, I'll go. So I go to Chicago and work that Classic. And when that Classic was over, I came home and I said, I'm fishing. I'm fishing it. I'm doing it. And I did. And that was that.
I like it.
So I'm nervous about going to another Classic. I always make big decisions. I make big monumental decisions.
Well, you don't have to hear. You're just able to go have a good time.
Yeah, I am going to go have a good time.
I want to see if I can get the audio pulled up on this. You're finally getting the do you deserve over on LureNet, Frank.
What are you up to, dude?
There it is.
Oh, for God's sake.
Let's see. I think if we talk over it, it's going to sound, so you just have to listen. Can you hear that?
Nope.
You can't hear that.
Nope. Thank God.
Well, hold on. We're going to make it so you can hear it.
Why are you always mocking me?
I'm not. It's a great thing. All right, here we go.
Net.com, and we've got a limited edition numbered piece of art from legendary angler Frank Scalish.
They're finally recognizing you now, man. All it took was sell it out color number 7 in a minute and a half, and now they're like,
oh my gosh.
But that Bank & Creek kit, we did talk about last couple weeks ago about how you went ham on the Helgramite on Lake Norman.
Dude, that bait's for real, man.
Mm-hmm. That Bank & Creek kit for March and April, if you're a hardcore bass fisherman, good stuff.
Yeah, there is. Isn't that the one? Is that the one with the floating rogue in it? I don't remember. I think
it's got that Speed End Junior and the fried green tomato. It's got the War Eagle.
Is it fried green or is it olive orange?
It's orange olive orange.
It's olive orange. Yeah, that's another good color. It's that color. Oh yeah, that's olive orange. That's another good color. See, guys, we were talking about transitional. Mm-hmm. That's a good transitional color right there, because now you're starting to get a little bit more natural on it. You still have the hot reddish orange to it. That's a really good transition color when the water temperature's starting to peak up in that, mid 50 range. Really good transitional color.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. That God Almighty, that rogue there. I went into my diatram last time on that rogue there. That I fished that thing over the bluegill beds and just hang on, because it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
What color is that in?
That's brim. That is such a good man alive. I have some, and I I should have got them. I didn't know we were going to do this. I should have got them. The paint is.
I didn't know we were going to do this either.
until about 1 minute before airtime. I have some of those where the paint is wore off so hard on the sides from the hooks that they have grooves wore in them.
That's good. That's a good bait.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, what else you got, Frank, before we wrap this thing up and you pull out the old suitcase, dust it off, and pack it up to head to the Bassmaster Classic?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing all you guys, the fans, in person, put faces to some of the, mess.
I think that did a thing with the audio again. I still got you.
You got me, I hope.
It's just not cool when you try to bring in the music smooth and then it cuts you out. I got to figure out what the deal is with the background music on that. Because the whole point is to be cool, not to, you know what I mean? Like, oh, here comes the music, and then we're going to end it, and then we're going to fade it out, and I'm going to be like, we're out. You do the salute, and then all of a sudden we're just muffled. It sounds like we're talking into a pillow.
We have to do sign language.
Yeah. Sayonara. See ya. Bye. All right. Anything else, Frank?
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. 15% off BTL 100 till the end of June.
Saturday, March 25th, Knoxville, Tennessee, Classic Expo Convention Center, 12 o'clock Bass Tank booth, 3 o'clock Sunline booth. Check social media. Frank, you have control over your Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff now. No one's trying to hack you.
No, I'm good.
Because I don't click on links. So this has been another edition of Day 4 with Frank Scalish, episode number 107. We'll talk to everybody in person at the Classic later.
Can't wait.